welcome back to Beauty for Ashes. I am Juanita Jones, and thank you so much for joining me on my channel where I am giving you real stories about real hope and real redemption in the things that God has done for me in my life. Before I get started on today's story, I do want to give a very quick disclaimer that anything that I share, whether it's in this story or the stories that you probably would see prior or afterwards, everything that I am sharing is solely based on my opinions, my experiences, my testimony. It also does not mean that just because I believe in the salvation of the Lord, because I believe in the things of God, does not necessarily mean that you have to believe. My faith does not require for your belief. These are my testimonies that nobody can ever take away from me. I'm also not here to push any type of political agendas or anything of that aspect. What I share is based solely off of my discretion, my experiences, and things that have happened to me or through me. So I just wanted to get that out there real quick. And I wanted to go ahead and just get started because I know how it is when you're waiting on a story to get started and people keep rambling. So I'm going to continue talking in regards to the Protector series of how God has protected me throughout everything that I have gone through in my life. And I've gone through so many different things. Today's story is, you know what? Let me back it up a little bit. I want to be as transparent as possible when it comes to when I tell these stories, because the last thing anyone needs is another person coming on social media, coming on YouTube, or wherever you might be seeing this, and they're wearing some type of mask. We see enough masks as it is. I for one, I'm over the phoniness. So I need to back it up just a smidget. And it segues actually into today's story. So I'm a full-time entrepreneur. I've been a full-time entrepreneur 10 years this month, as a matter of fact. This is, whenever you're watching this, we are in July right now, 26. And I have been a full-time entrepreneur for a full 10 years is when I walked away from corporate America. And today has been a rough day, a rough morning. I have struggled with trying to get this story out, not because of the context of the story, but because I'm physically and mentally exhausted. I'm just tired. But I still, even with all of the trials and tribulations and all the hurdles and the hassles that I endure as a full-time entrepreneur, I still wouldn't trade it to go back into corporate America, which was something that I prayed my way out of for years. I want to say for decades at that point. So I thank God for taking me out of a place that I longed to be out of. So anytime that I get to a place like today where I'm just flat out tired and discouraged and just need mental, emotional, physical rest, I always think in hindsight, okay, remember back in the day when you used to pray to be where you are today. So I just had to say that real quick, because if it seems like I might be a little sluggish, it's because I am physically exhausted. But it does go right into my story. So this would have taken place, I want to say in 2020, no, not 2020, even before then. Let's see, my last time in corporate America, my last year was 2016. So this had to have taken place around 2014, 2015 at the last place of business that I was working. Just a little bit of background. Before leaving corporate America, I was a sales executive. I've had all kinds of hats throughout the years, but primarily the last decade to 15 years prior to me leaving corporate, I was a sales executive, and I was darn good at it. Every sales position I ever carried, I did exceptionally well in. Not because I was shysty, not because I'm a pushover or one of those people that constantly push people to want to buy. It was because I was the polar opposite. Simply because I was 100% transparent and open and honest with every client or potential client that I would run into. Another reason would be because I did not push them. I would give them the facts. this is how something would benefit you. And if you feel like this is a good fit for you, then hey, I'm here for you. That got me more sales than any type of push tactic ever did. And because of my demeanor, because of the nature of how I carried myself when I did sales transactions, I did exceptionally well. People honored that because I was so honest. So with that being said, I always rose to the cream of the crop. I always rose to the top of every single sales position I ever had. So in this last position that I was in that position for maybe about a year and a half, and the president of our sector of the business that we were under noticed my talent, and he actually was my supervisor's boss. So you get that. This would be me, my supervisor, his supervisor, and then their supervisor. This one is the one that recognized my talent all the way from his seat. And he went to the director to let him know, hey, you all need to promote her to the basically the manager or the head of her particular department, because she's doing so well. She would be able to lead her team and, have all of them increase their numbers, increase, their tactics, the way that they do sales, yada, yada, etc. So my director was all for it. He was like, oh yeah, absolutely. I fully agree. I actually was going to consider her and talk to her supervisor about it. Long story short, my supervisor had it out for me, did not like me for whatever reason, and put off my promotion for a year and a half. So let's just say my promotion was put on hold because of a personal vendetta. Long story short, fast forwarding a little bit, my supervisor got moved to a different department. A new supervisor came in, and guess what happened? The director instantly went ahead and told that supervisor, we're going to go ahead and bump Juanita up to the team director. So it was 14 people on my team. And that happened almost instantly after the new supervisor came in. So wall removed, great. I got a new promotion. I got a great raise. I had new perks, all kinds of things that I earned. Nothing was given to me. Well, the problem came in when there were teammates that had been on my team for years before I came into the picture. They did not get the prestige of being considered for a promotion. I can't help that I was able to exceed and do the things that they requested for me to do. Actually, I feel like I did it a little too well, because, the more you do and the more you show that you know how to do it, they start piling extra stuff on you. And that's kind of what happened. Towards the end, I started taking on the work of 5 other people, but I also demanded my worth at the same time. So fast forward, I'm dealing with that. So I'm now over a team where the majority of my team, they love the fact that I am over them, except for 2 people, maybe 3, but I know for a fact 2 people, 2 male individuals. We're going to call the main person Billy. I'm going to call the second person, the person that he was kind of in cahoots with, we can call him Kev. So Billy and Kev were the 2 people that had an issue with me taking in this new role, because they had been there longer. They didn't understand why they got overlooked. Why was I given the opportunity, et cetera, et cetera. It just continued and went on and on and on. And I was like, I could care less how you feel about it. It's done. I'm still going to be treated with dignity and respect as I treated them. I didn't make anybody feel any type of way. I definitely don't believe in making anybody feel inferior, especially because of a title, because they come and go. So they had an issue. I had no issue with it. So I ended up having to go. One of the things that I had to do for this particular job was I had to physically go meet with clientele Pretty much on maybe a quarterly basis. That required me to do a lot of travel. So these particular clients happen to be in Louisiana and Mississippi. So I was going to be gone for about 3 days. If I remember correctly, I left on like a Wednesday. I knew I was going to be gone. No, it was 2 days. I left on a Wednesday and I was supposed to be returning back on like Friday night. So it was going to be basically a day in each state, which if anybody knows geography, they're not too far apart. So it wasn't a big deal. I was just going to visit them. That in itself is a whole nother story. Just that trip alone is a whole nother story. I'm actually going to share that on my travel channel because that was a terrifying, it was just a bad travel story. But anyway, just to stay on point. I went on this trip, went to visit with, I was going to visit with some clients that were some of my top clients, as well as some clients that I had not heard from in a long time, just to go put a face with the name, touch base with them, treat them to some lunch, some dinner, whatever it was that I needed to do to accommodate that client, make them feel comfortable with utilizing our services. So when we had to travel as managers, directors, anybody that was in a position where we needed to go travel to visit with clientele, anytime we did that, we would always have a trusted partner, somebody that we would leave behind in the office that we felt would be comfortable enough to assist the clients that I wasn't going to basically check on. So this particular person, I'll call him Bob. So Bob was in charge of checking on my accounts, answering my phone calls. I had all of my calls directed to his office, and he would every now and then periodically would have to physically go to my desk to check into my emails and things of that nature that I could not forward. Bob is somebody I wholeheartedly trusted. Good guy, solid guy, wonderful family man. Never had any issues with Bob. And this wasn't the first time that he and I did this. I did it for him. He did it for me. Not a problem. So this particular day, I gave him my information and I told him, hey, Bob, I'm getting ready to leave. I'll see you later. If you have any questions, reach out to me. So I gave him my information. And I'm assuming Bob left it on his desk and then he went to the bathroom. Well, what I found out in hindsight is there was an issue with Billy always nitpicking at everything that I did. Billy took it upon himself to always try to make up a reason why I just didn't deserve this position. I shouldn't be in the position. She's not making the phone calls she should make. Why did she get a chance to do this when we have to do that? It was always something that he would nitpick about what I was doing. Instead of minding the business that paid him, he was busy minding my business. Billy and Kev are kind of sort of in cahoots because Kev is going back and forth, kind of playing both sides. Kev would be in my face saying one thing 1 minute. Yeah, I don't know why Billy is hating on you like that. He said this, he said that, but the minute I'm gone or would turn around, guess whose face he was in? Billy's face. Yeah, I don't think it's fair either. Who does she think she is? Why would she be in that position? She can't tell me what to do. I've been here 5 years longer than her. Blah, 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 blah. They're both going doing this while, behind my back. I could care less. And I don't know what wild hair Billy got that day where he thought it would be cute for him to go to Bob's desk, take my information that I gave to Bob. He proceeded to go into my office. No permission, no reason whatsoever that he would be anywhere near my belongings or my computer. Now, it was company policy. No one was allowed to enter into anybody's computer. That's illegal access when it came to HR matters for the company. You do not enter into anybody else's computer because it's considered private property when they are handling whatever it is they're handling, especially when it's pertinent, private information in there regarding clients that have nothing to do with you. So he took my information from Bob's desk, went into my office, logged into my computer while I'm gone. Now, this tells you how smart Kevin was, okay? I mean, I'm not Kevin, I'm sorry, Billy. This tells you how smart Billy was, okay? I'm gone. How would I log into my computer? They have timestamps for everything on top of cameras. So that's how smart he was. Let's just put it that way. He logs into my computer. He goes into my emails. Now, keep in mind, I have all kinds of HR files on there with my information, personal files on there for my clients, payment information, all kinds of information that nobody else had any business putting their eyes on top of I'm his supervisor. So he goes in there, he's digging through my emails. He happens to find an email that I sent to my director in regards to, not my supervisor now, my director, my supervisor's boss. I sent an email to him because he asked me to send him an email to give him an update on what was going on with everybody on my team. Because for some reason, it seemed like because my supervisor was new, they weren't really giving him, he didn't have all the full details as to what was really going on with everybody on the team. Rightfully so. The new supervisor wasn't there long enough to really know or to peg where any, major issues would have been at that time. So he asked me. I let him know the spill on everything that was going on. Not quote unquote tea, but what was going on with each person when it came to the business, not anything regarding their personal information. And with Billy, he just happened to be one of those people that just was not doing very well with the accounts that he was given. He was more so of a slacker. He felt like he could just do whatever he wanted to do simply because he existed. He was just one of those very arrogant people that felt like he walked on water and there was nothing he could ever do or say that would get him any type of consequences. Well, he was wrong. And when he saw the email, he weirdly and dumb enough took it upon himself to forward the email that I sent to my supervisor's boss, to my supervisor. I hope y'all are catching that. The email I sent to my director, he sent that email, he forwarded my email to my boss, our supervisor, basically. But it was already sent to his boss. So the question was, what would make you think, first of all, that it was okay for you to steal something off of Bob's desk? What would make you think it was okay to go into my personal belongings, my personal computer, and then you had the nerve to go into my emails? Then you had the nerve to forward an email because you thought you was catching me being mean or hateful or vindictive, when in fact it was sent to my supervisor's boss because he requested it. He didn't know any of that though. I act like I'm talking to him. He didn't know any of that. He just thought he caught something because he was in such a tizzy of trying to find something to make me look bad because he was so messed up. You see how the enemy will utilize your weaknesses to make you think that what you're doing is the right thing, when all along the very grave that you're digging for somebody else, you fall into your own hole. And that's what was happening. So he did that. And because my supervisor realized, oh crap, he sent me this, he just sent me an email that obviously it wasn't meant for me. I can't get, he told, and then he had the nerve to tell Kev what he did. Now keep in mind, Kev doesn't like me either. But Kev also knew, okay, because he told me he did it, I don't want no parts of it. My job is on the line now because they'll look at me as an accessory to doing whatever it is he's doing. So he told Kev about it, and Kev took it upon himself to go tell our supervisor what he did. Even though, remember now, Kev and Billy are supposed to be like this. Kev was looking out for himself. So that's how nasty and hateful some people can be. So he went and told our supervisor, even though my supervisor already knew because he got the email. All of this was happening while I was in Mississippi visiting with my clients. I had no clue none of this was going on. And this happened day one of me being gone. So Bob didn't even know what was going on until he saw all of the ruckus happening in my supervisor's office. And he was like, what is going on? And he got, of course, called into the office to ask, did you have Juanita's information, yada, yada, yada. And of course, Bob was like, well, yeah, I always have her information when she leaves. I had it because I was going to be checking on her clients that she asked me to do X, Y, and Z. So they just was clarifying why Bob had the information. He was, he was clear from any mishappenings. But guess who wasn't? Billy. Billy ended up having to go into a formal meeting with my director to explain why my supervisor had an email forwarded to him that came from my computer when I wasn't there that was solely sent to him, the director. And Billy tried to, from what I'm told, he tried to skate around it, there was no skate around it. They caught him red-handed doing something that was a massive violation in the company. You've breached not only the trust of the clients, but you've breached the trust of your supervisor that's also a colleague. And that was an absolute no-no. From what I found out when I got back to the office, they didn't even call me, which was strange. They didn't call me to let me know anything that was going on. I happened to find out that Friday when I was getting ready to leave Mississippi, and Bob called me when I was getting ready to get on the plane to let me know, hey, just to give you a heads up before you come back in this office, this is what's happening. Because I don't think anybody planned on telling me anything that transpired until I got back in the office. And they knew how many issues I had, minor issues, but they knew there were some issues. There was some background with Billy and myself with him having an issue with me. They ended up firing Billy on the spot. So the very thing that he was trying to plant for me, the very booby trap he was trying to plant for me, he fell into. This man had a whole family. He had a wife, he had children, he had bills. Like, I knew his whole family's life because all he did was run his mouth about things going on at home and how things weren't fair, etc., etc. Well, he made it worse for himself by being so angry and irritated and furious that a female of color took a position he felt like he deserved simply because he had been there longer, or because maybe one or two seasons he did exceptionally well, but not well enough. Obviously, he wasn't meant for the position. And that's neither here nor there. I have nothing to do with that, but I was to blame for it because I happened to be in something that he really wanted. So I share that to say, oh, and the saddest part, I ended up seeing him maybe a few months later on the side of the road. I kid you not, guys, selling oranges. I'm in Florida. And being on the side of the road selling oranges is one of the most normal things you'll probably see. People sell fruit, all kinds of stuff on the side of the roads here. He was selling oranges. And I know this, I prayed to God that he, had a change of heart, that it taught him a hard lesson. But that goes to show how God's grace and mercy and his protection will go before you, even when you have no idea that the enemy is trying to plot and trying to scheme and do things behind your back to sabotage you and your gifts and your blessings. God was looking out for me way in Mississippi when I had no idea that this guy was even going to remotely do anything like that. But it just goes to show that God will protect you even from your enemies. The very thing that they think they're planning for you, they easily can fall on their own sword. And that's what happened to poor old Billy. Now, as far as Kev goes, he too almost got fired because they really felt like he was in cahoots. They didn't understand why he knew as much as he knew, what was really going on behind the scenes. And I kind of shared bits and pieces with my supervisor and the director to let them know, some of the little issues I had with him, but not enough to justify him losing his job. So, I actually kind of saved Kev's job, whether he felt like I did or if I didn't. But he saved his own butt, basically, by going to kind of rat out Billy. And I just, I had to share that story because no matter whether it's something physical, whether it's something mental, whether it's something financial, like in my own situation, on the job, at school, wherever you are, God is always looking out and protecting you. Even when you don't think he is, he's always looking out for you. So I pray that this story has been a blessing to you. If you are dealing with some type of job bully or some type of school bully or anybody that is constantly giving you a hard time, because this person gave me a hard time. He really did. Just know that your protector goes before you, behind you, and around you, and that there's no weapon formed against you that will prosper. And I pray that this is a blessing to whoever sees this to understand that God got you even when you don't realize that he has you. So very quick prayer over you all. Father, in the name of Jesus, I pray that whoever sees this, Lord, that this be an added blessing to their day, Lord, that they understand that you are forever their protector and their provider, Lord, that there is no weapon formed against them that will ever prosper. In Jesus' name, amen. So God bless you all. I pray that you have a phenomenal day. Please like, share, and comment if this is something that you enjoyed. Feel free to, encourage somebody else with the same word that I'm giving you. And I will be back very, very soon with my next episode. Thanks so much. Bye.